This is Robert Wasman with the Journalistic Revolution with Gwen Chansey, the mayor hopeful in Apopka, Florida. How are you doing, man?
Hey, doing well. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. How are you doing?
You know, it could be better, could be worse. I heard you were out in the rain today.
Yeah, we're out with about 15 supporters. We were protesting the red light cameras here in Apopka.
Which seems to be a pet project of yours as well, right?
Since 2009 it's been. In 2009 we founded an organization called banthecams.org to try to get rid of red light cameras here in Central Florida, and we expanded eventually to cover all of Florida as far as being a clearinghouse for news and information activism to get rid of red light cameras.
Okay, so and just real quick for the people who don't know, why are red light cameras bad? I mean, don't we want them to stop people from running red lights?
Well, it would be a good thing if they increase safety, but they don't. One recent study out of University of South Florida actually indicated that they increase the number of accidents because they encourage people to slam on their brakes rather than safely traveling through a yellow light. So they increase accidents, and that's only part of the problem. A constitutional issue is also at stake here because you don't actually get to confront your accuser. So what happens is they take a picture of a vehicle. Now, you may be driving the vehicle, you may just be an innocent owner of the vehicle, someone else is driving the vehicle. They don't ticket the actual driver who committed the infraction, assuming there is an actual infraction, because they do ticket things that a police officer would never ticket. But they review a tape and they issue a citation. The citation is actually issued from a company, a private company that the equipment is leased from. So all the way around, this is a bad process, and then you have to go in and prove your innocence. It totally subverts our legal system. We are innocent until proven guilty, but with red light cameras, you are in fact guilty simply of having owned a piece of property. They are in fact claiming your property is guilty of committing a crime. So we could continue on with a whole lot of other things, but I think the thing that you can take away from this is, why is it happening? It's happening for revenue purposes. We actually had a legislator from the state of Florida actually say point blank, we can't outlaw red light cameras in Florida. It would cost us $100 million. Now, whose $100 million is that? It's the $100 million of the people who are being entrapped by these red light cameras.
So, as far as the economic side of it, you know, people say it's a revenue generator. How would you, because it does pay for certain things, how would you supplement that as far as generating revenue for your city?
Well, what it is essentially a tax.
Okay.
Because you're putting a tax out there. You take the city of Apopka, for example. The city of Apopka has generated $3 million in revenue that has stayed local. It has issued over 100,000 citations. We're number 4 in the state in revenue and tickets. Mm-hmm. So the question then becomes, if you're actually putting this revenue collection on the backs of the working people, you're putting it on the backs of people in fixed income, you're putting it on the backs of people who can have to choose between a $158 ticket and actually being able to buy medicine, or being able to pay for food for a week, or 2 weeks in some cases at the lower income lower income levels. So what are you doing with this money? Why do you need this money? What are you funding with it that we could not fund in some other way?
So basically it's the broken window fallacy. They're like, we need these red light cameras for the revenue generation, but the city of Apopka would generate revenue if these people didn't have to pay for these tickets.
Absolutely. And you would generate revenue from a lot of different sources, but probably one of the biggest problems with a city like Apopka is, what are we known for now? We're known for red light cameras. Mm-hmm. So who wants to go spend their Saturday afternoon wandering around spending money in a town that is putting up red light cameras to try to trap you into a $158 ticket? So you're really not being inviting, you're not creating a positive business climate, you're in fact discouraging people from coming to your town. In fact, we're not the only town that has that problem. There have been other towns in Central Florida that have looked at the issue and said, you know, whatever amount of money we make off this, we would be much better off simply drawing more visitors into town and expanding our tax base by becoming a better place for people to live. So the red light cameras, because of the image problem they provide, are becoming increasingly in danger in multiple jurisdictions.
Now, this seems something that you're really passionate about. Is this what drove you to decide to run for mayor, or are there other issues that you're just as passionate about?
No, this was the issue that we were actually drove us to come face to face with what's happening in Apopka.
Okay.
So what we've done, Henry Bentley and I and some of the other activists that are working on this issue, we would meet with the mayor, we would meet with the city council, and we would present evidence. And we would present the evidence that these are not increasing safety, in fact they're increasing the number of accidents. There was manipulation of yellow light times that we documented. We came and said, look, we understand that yellow lights have been shortened. that violates the National Highway Transportation Safety Administration guidelines. We are endangering the public. You're doing this for revenue purposes. The fact is there's got to be a better way either to raise revenue, or perhaps we don't need as many programs as what you're providing, because let's face it, government is a service provider you can't fire. So unless you're holding the politicians accountable, they're going to continue to run riot and provide more and more services that chances are we don't even need. So
Well,
we
would
were
you describe yourself as a constitutionalist then, especially since you bring up that point?
Absolutely.
As far as red light cameras not being able the right to face your accuser.
Absolutely.
Well, what other things would you try to do to bring Apopka to that kind of constitutionalist ideal?
Well, number one, what we're going to look at is community-based policing. Okay, we have an issue in Apopka, like we have in everywhere else, where you have police riding up and down the street, not really actively engaging in the community. And we're going to need to make police who are engaged in the community aware of the rights of the accused, and we need to make sure that the mayor is actively involved, making sure that things that happened, for example, to Mark Schmitter, who is a well-known Central Florida activist who was arrested for peacefully handing out flyers.
Paper.
Paper. He was handing out flyers. He was peacefully protesting, exercising his constitutional rights. He ends up arrested. Then the police went ahead and, in order to cover their tracks, invented trumped-up charges. Those kinds of things have to stop. Police have to be schooled from the beginning of their career and throughout by constitutional government that you must respect the right of the people to peaceably assemble and petition the government for redress. That's one thing. The banning the red light cameras, of course, is a
That's your
no-brainer.
top priority.
That's a top priority right there. But at the same time, Apopka, if you go through downtown Apopka, what you'll see is some chain restaurants and a lot of empty space. We have vacant lots a tenth of a mile from the corner of Park and Main. Why do we have all this empty space? Why do we have a downtown that actually, one teacher who was transferred to Apopka actually told me that coming through downtown for the first time, she burst out crying because she was going to have to work here. Why does it look like that? Does it look like that because the free market is broken, because no one wants to develop a prime commercial area? Is it broken because no one in Apopka has an idea of how we could really generate positive growth and development and serve the economy? The answer is no. It's broken because you have code enforcement, impact fees, and regulations that are preventing Apopka from growing the way that it needs to grow. So if you followed a limited government model, if you followed a constitutional model where we took the shackles off the free market, what you're going to see is Apopka, which is the second largest community in Orange County, is going to develop the way Apopka needs to develop. The ideas that develop a community are in the free market among the people who are looking to make positive contributions for themselves by making money for them and their families, and for their fellow man by offering something that people want to buy. That's where we need to be focusing.
So basically, with these empty lots, your answer to it is sell them,
Sell them.
right?
Sell them. Look at what it is that's preventing development. So if I have an empty lot a tenth of a mile, what is it that's developed? What is it that is driving that lot to be empty? Is it because the city is owning it and refusing to sell it? In some cases it is. Is it because what we have it zoned for is improper? Is it because the impact fees and the code enforcement that we have in Apopka has rendered it unprofitable for someone to come and invest in that lot? Those are the questions you need to be asking. A mayor needs to be asking questions, constantly asking questions. 80% of a mayor's time should be spent among people who actually are in the community. Mayors should never have to have.
And you exhibited that today by standing out in the rain with a lot of your
Absolutely.
supporters
Absolutely.
and project friends. Let me ask this, because I think people will ask this question. Let's say you sell all these and do what with the money?
Well, interestingly enough, we've been talking a lot to residents in South Apopka about the fact that in our community we actually do not have a community center. We don't. We do not have a community center. We have a VFW, and the VFW is exorbitantly expensive to try to rent. We're actually having a mayoral forum on the 17th of February. We're having to have it in a church because we actually do not have a proper facility to actually have a community meeting. So one of the things that I would like to see would be a community center. There are other projects that if we had revenue that was derived from the sale of government assets that was not taken forcibly from taxpayers, then I would love to see that money devoted to a state-of-the-art community center. I would love to see that money devoted to additional mentoring and educational programs. We have a real problem with our local schools in terms of the fact that they have some sports activities. But, for example, my son had to join Future Farmers of America in order to find some organization that had leadership as one of its primary goals. So we have a paucity of educational opportunities as well. Now again, I don't want to expand the use of taxpayer funds, but if you are able to sell off unproductive assets that provide a windfall, then we can look at tax
And something that really gives back to the
and
community.
look at something that gives back to the community.
That's brilliant. There was a wonderful thing. We were speaking off camera a few days ago, and I asked you what could you do to make sure that you don't get a crony capitalistic type of corporation trying to get a foothold in Apopka, and your answer was, do you remember? I loved it.
Absolutely. Sell everything to the highest bidder. And if you sell everything to the highest bidder, if you actually put all of your auctions, if you actually put all of your open contracts on the internet, and everything is tracked in an open and fair bidding process, we experience that. I'm a product manager for a software company, and a lot of our banks actually use tools that are essentially open bidding tools. And that way you simply contribute your bid for a particular project, and the bank goes through and in very transparent fashion reviews everyone's bid. Now, why do they do that? They do that because they don't want undue influence, especially any type of corrupt practice.
Yeah.
Well, if a private company is concerned about that, obviously a community should be concerned about that as well. So everything should be above board. So what I told you off camera was, if you sell it to the highest bidder, then it's their business what they do with it. Because you can go look the voter in the face and you say, I got the most money I possibly could for this asset, and now here's what we're going to do with it. We're going to, for example, we're going to repeal taxes for the next 24 months on home-based businesses in order to encourage more high-tech entrepreneurs to relocate to Apopka. We're going to build a community center. We're going to increase mentoring programs in our schools. But money talks. You sell to the highest bidder. Where's the crony capitalism in that? Crony capitalism comes when I sell to the lowest bidder because he happens to be the guy that I play golf with.
Yeah. That is great. So you have a debate coming up, right?
February 17th.
How are you feeling about it, and what topics and subjects do you think you're really going to get this guy on?
Well, there's actually 4 of us in the race.
Okay.
So there's the existing mayor who is 93 and has been. That's everyone's reaction, I know. He's been in office. 63 years now, I think. 19 terms. This would be his 20th term. So I'm not expecting a lot of robust and vigorous debate from him, though I could be completely surprised. Well, essentially what he will do is he's going to present Apopka Proud, that's his slogan, that everything's great, we're doing fine, we've had some successful sports teams, 2 of our high schools are top ranked in their sports programs, and which is another problem in Apopka. We feel like if we hand a kid a ball, everything's fine, which isn't. But I expect that's pretty much going to be the case. And then the other 2 are going to, one of them's running on ecotourism, which we do have some very nice ecologically friendly tourist destinations within Apopka, and none of them help keep kids off the street on Friday night or Saturday night. And I'm not sure about the third gentleman who's running. I'm not really sure much about him or what he stands for.
Yeah.
And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go out there. I'm going to articulate a vision of a livable, thriving, free Apopka. Free of red light cameras, free of undue government regulation, free of undue government code enforcement, a positive business climate, a positive living environment, welcoming community. And that's how I feel like you drive property values. That's how I feel like you drive growth, is by facilitating. When an entrepreneur comes into the building and has an idea, then your job as a government should be to make sure that they can pursue that dream. Unless, of course, their dream is to dump mercury into your local water supply. Of course, we're not going to do that. I mean, you have certain limits, you have certain basic rules, but as long as they are adherent to those basic rules, the job of government should be to facilitate economic development, primarily by not retarding it. And so that's the kind of vision I'm going to articulate, and I hope that it's a vision that the rest of Apopka will share.
Well, tell the people where they can get a hold of you, where they can come to you with grievances or anything they would like to get your take on, and also just one last chance to convince them why you're the man.
Okay. Well, if you do believe in freedom, constitutional government, and if you do believe in a livable community free of undue governmental burdens and regulation, then, and of course free of red light cameras as well, let's not forget that, then GlennChansey.com is where you could go to get more information about me. It's also where, as a voter, if you would like to register any type of concerns, we have an opportunity for that on the website. I plan to be the most tired man in Apopka because if elected, I will be the easiest to reach. No one is ever going to have to struggle to find me. If you want to talk to the mayor, I plan to spend 80% of my time out in the community working to make sure that the government of Apopka is responding to the needs of the community.
All right, thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
And this is the Journalistic Revolution saying, don't look to live free sometime in the future. Live free now.